He has so many, he won't miss it if I take just one. She let me borrow this. Hopefully she won't ask for it back. I need this, but I don't have the money, so it's okay if I take it. She dropped this, so it's mine now. A friend shows you a really cool toy. You want one just like it, but maybe you don't have money, or your parents won't let you have it, or maybe there's not another one like it. You feel like you have to have it. You try, but you just can't stop thinking about it. It feels like if you just had it, everything else in your life would be better. Or so you think. Since you can't have it the right way, maybe you go as far as to steal it. At least then you would have it, right? But what happens once you do have it? You can't really enjoy it. You can't show it off to your friends. You can't play with it with them. You can't let your parents see it. After all, you don't want to get caught for stealing it. So what do? Maybe you hide it in the closet or push it under the bed. So what's wrong? You finally have it. So why? Why isn't everything better? Achan had some of these same thoughts as he stared at a beautiful robe. It was a robe made of the finest cloths. It seemed to shimmer and shine. It was a deep purple. The robe represented beauty and power in one. Achan couldn't stand it. He just wanted to touch it. As he reached out and grabbed the sleeve, he couldn't believe the smooth texture of the robe. Achan glanced back over his shoulder and asked,
"What are we doing with all these beautiful things? I mean, there's so much here. The silver, the gold, and things like this robe."
Remember, Joshua said that everything in the city of Jericho is to be burned up, except the treasures. All the stuff we're gathering up, it's God's.
Why does God need these treasures? He's all powerful. He can have whatever he wants.
I don't know, but I'm sure he'll show us what it's for later. But for now, Joshua said that we're to collect all the treasures for him.
Joshua and his people had just conquered the city of Jericho. They obeyed God and marched around the city wall for 7 days. And on the seventh day, they brought down the strong and powerful walls of Jericho by blowing their trumpets. God was with them in the battle because Joshua and his army obeyed him. Now that they had conquered Jericho, God told them to burn the sinful city and everything in it, except the treasures. The treasures of the city were to be saved for God.
There are so many treasures here, so much gold and silver.
Achan's eyes moved back to the robe.
There's so much here. No one will ever notice if just a little is missing.
With that last thought, Achan devised a plan to steal a robe and some silver and gold. He took the items home.
I don't want anyone to know that I have these things. What if they try to take them from me?
So Achan dug a hole and hid the precious treasures. Achan was proud. No one would ever know what he had done, or so he thought. Joshua sent some men up to check out a neighboring land called Ai. They planned to attack and take over this land. So a few of Joshua's men went up there to scope some things out. They returned with very good news.
"We got this. As a matter of fact, there's no need to send the whole army. We can conquer Ai with only 2,000 or 3,000 men. Only a few people live there."
Thank you. We will only send 3,000 troops for what sounds like an easy task.
But things did not go as planned. The 3,000 troops went up to the hill to take over the land, but the men in Ai drove them away. They chased the Israelites from the city and killed about 36 of them. The Israelites were terrified. When Joshua heard the news, he was so sad. He pleaded with God.
Why, God, were you not with us? Did you want our enemies to destroy us? God, our enemies have driven us away. What can I say? Everyone in the entire land will hear about it soon. They will surround us. They will erase any mention of our name from the face of the earth.
God spoke to Joshua. He told him that Israel had sinned against him. They had taken some of the things that had been set apart for God. You see, someone had stolen, and God knew it. They had taken these things that belonged to God and put them with their own things. God told Joshua, this is why the Israelites couldn't stand up against their enemies.
Lord, I didn't know. What should I do?
God gave Joshua instructions on how to find the one who sinned against him.
God says we have sinned against him. God says we have kept some of the things that had been set apart for him. But God warns we won't be able to stand up against our enemies until we return what we took from him.
What? But I didn't take anything. How will we know who did it?
I will ask each family one by one.
Achan began to sweat. His hands started to tremble. As Joshua spoke, he remembered the beautiful robe, the silver and the gold. He only took a little, and he knew that no one had seen him. But God knew.
What am I going to do? Tomorrow when Joshua calls my name, I'll have to say something, but I will be punished if I tell him that I stole from God.
It was a sleepless night for Achan. He knew that just beneath where he slept laid the items he took from God. He also remembered the men who were killed in Ai because of his choice to steal. He tossed and he turned and he tossed and he turned. Soon, it was morning, and Achan stretched and looked out at the sun shining. He was tired and he hadn't slept well. His legs felt weak beneath him, but he knew he had to be strong. He knew what he had to do.
Okay, who's up next?
Sir, it is Achan.
Achan, please come forward.
Yes, Joshua?
My son, the Lord is the God of Israel. So give him glory and honor him by telling the truth. Tell me what you have done.
It's true. I've sinned against God. Here's what I've done. I saw a beautiful robe from Babylonia among the things that we had taken. I saw 5 pounds of silver, and I saw a gold bar that weighed 20 ounces. I wanted them, so I took them. I hid them in the ground inside my tent. The silver is the one on the bottom. I'm so sorry.
Go, check Achan's tent.
Yes, sir!
They ran to Achan's tent, and there was everything hidden in his tent. They brought the things out of the tent. They took them to Joshua and all the Israelites, and they returned them to God. Achan was punished for what he had done. Then once again, the Israelites were safe from their enemies. Achan was tempted by a beautiful robe and some gold and some silver. He chose to steal from God. You see, once Achan had these things, he couldn't even enjoy them because of the fear of getting caught. Now imagine for a moment that Achan had worked for those items, that he bought and paid for the robe himself. Instead of hiding it, he could have worn it anywhere he wanted. Stealing something steals the joy in having it. When we take things that don't belong to us, we separate ourselves from God like Achan did. But for us, this wall of sin, it doesn't have to remain. You see, we have someone who takes it down. 3, 2, 1, busted.